And, oh, my, look at that look. Robert Griffin III on the screen with us. He has his own Out of Pocket podcast that is amazing with a lot of the guests, and we are thrilled to have him on with us, Greg Smoak, Paul Catalina, and David Smoak. So you were picking up the children earlier today, picking them up at school and chilling out. What's that like to just do that and kind of be a part of their lives like that?
Hey, man, I want to say, first of all, appreciate you having me on the show. Really love you guys, love what you guys are doing, and know the future is bright for you. So, earlier today when you hit me up, I was in the pickup line, going to get the kids from school here in Houston, Texas. And, just being a dad, had a really proud dad moment last night. With our kids, we always like to, put them in the best positions to be successful. But I know any parent that's listening to this right now, you have that moment where you kind of let them go. You got to let them go out there and compete and fend for themselves. And we had a practice with our 7-year-old Gloria, and she's been playing tennis for about 4 years now. And we didn't want her to get her started too early and like specialize in anything, but she had like a tennis assessment last night and absolutely crushed it. And it was really cool to see that as a dad, because I know like my dad, went through a bunch of different things to help me be in position to be the player that I became. So, I looked at her mom, Grete, my wife, and said, great job. Congratulations. It made me a little emotional because, you get to see your kid go out there and truly crush something. It's a special feeling. So to have that happen last night, and then you hit me up when I'm in the pickup line today, it's just life is coming full circle. And at 35, I still haven't lived that much life, but I am enjoying being a father and being a husband.
So you had a life change this year, Rob, where you were with ESPN. They decided you and others, they do what they do and contractual changes. So when you launched Out of Pocket on your own, you're not this is not with a company yet. This is you. Yep. I know that has got to be equal parts exciting and a little terrifying because it's on you. Like you're the money, you're the one who's planning it out. But you guys have already, kind of launched into some really great guests. What's it been like?
Yeah, I mean, it's been incredible. I encourage everybody that's listening to us right now to obviously go like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Out of Pocket with RG3, but also, like and subscribe to this show. Like I said, I'm a big believer in what you guys are doing. And
thank you.
For me, and my wife, my wife's my co-host, and everyone's like, why would you do the show with your wife? Like, why would you do that? Well, she's a 3-time All-American, 3-time ACC champion. And she knows sports like the back of her hand. She knows sports better than most of your favorite sports analysts. So I just felt like, with what happened at ESPN, it was an opportunity to truly own your own media, go sit down, be face-to-face with people, and have a great time having great conversations. So our guest list over the last 11 episodes has been truly epic. And I can only thank, our team that books those guests, the creatives behind it, our film crew, our creative crew has done an amazing job just making the show get better and better every single time we air an episode. And it's risky. If you go out there on your own and you fail, everyone's going to look at you and say, well, you're devaluing yourself. And I think with what we've been able to pull off in the last 11 episodes, we haven't only just had a great time. We've also increased our value and are having deep discussions with a bunch of different brands on coming on board and helping us continue to preach and get the message out there that we want to enjoy sports, have a good time, and show the different sides of these athletes, entertainers, musicians, whoever comes on the show, to allow them to speak to the things that they're experts at, but also have a great time. And I think we've gotten away from that a little bit in sports media. You got LeBron James talking about Anthony Edwards not wanting to be the face of the NBA because the national media is tearing these guys down. And I saw that. And then when I worked at ESPN, I fought against that because these guys are the best in the world. We should be celebrating their stories. We should be telling the stories about where they came from and what they're doing in their communities. And yeah, if you miss a game winner, sure, we'll critique it, but he's not the worst player in the world because he missed a game winner in the NBA. I just think that we can get to a better place in the media sphere where it's not tearing down, it's building up and obviously giving constructive criticism.
I don't know if he was the most recent, but Dustin Poirier, of course, a great fighter. And you asked him about Conor McGregor and does he have the edge to get back? And you have been able to have an array of different people, as you mentioned.
Poirier is also who Dave Aranda brought in to speak, I believe.
He was brought into Baylor,
last
he was. Craig, you're exactly right. So are you on the road where they are? Are they coming to see where your studio is? Is it a mixture of all of that?
Yeah, it's a mixture of everything. So when we met with Poirier, we were actually at the Super Bowl. And, he's from Louisiana. He's from Baton Rouge. My family's from New Orleans, Louisiana. Mm-hmm. So I think it was a natural, I have a great respect for Dustin Poirier and what he's been able to accomplish in his craft. And it's really just about not being put in a box. As a football player, what do they expect you to talk about? Football. Well, guess what? We talked about football with Dustin Poirier, and I found out he's an avid Saints fan, and he thinks that Derek Carr wears eyeliner. It's like these are great conversations to have, knowing that football will always be that thing that draws people in. But we can have MMA conversations. We can have music industry conversations. We can have actor and actress conversations. Everybody loves sports in some capacity. It's about intertwining that sports and entertainment. So it's not just another football show. There's enough of those out there, and we really enjoy it. And you talk about him talking about Conor McGregor. Mm-hmm. The special thing that I found out there was I know that Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor don't get along for a number of reasons. But he was able to actually put that aside and have an honest conversation about the guy's talent. And I thought that was big of him to sit there and say, yeah, I like talking trash on this guy, but he's a special talent. And if he can come back and find the motivation, he can be great. And that's what I don't think people see a lot of times in the rivalries. They just think it's like, let's pile on these guys and trash them. These are actually human beings, and they can put their differences aside and actually praise people if you give them the opportunity to. And I'm glad we were able to have that conversation with them.
Robert, in scan your guest list, I saw you talk to the Colorado guys, various points over the last few months, Deion and Travis Hunter and Shedeur, et cetera. And I saw just, today you're talking about Deion Sanders and kind of the doubters and whatnot as the combine's rolling on along. Just your perspective and kind of knowing those guys a little bit, understanding the spotlight that is on them and is so unique, and just your thoughts on, Shedeur moving forward in this process and maybe what people, sometimes misjudge or get wrong about Colorado and the Sanders family.
Yeah, I mean, where do we start with that? I think there was a point in time in Colorado's season. I can't remember exactly what game it was, but Shiloh had a terrible game. It was against Kansas State, I think. And he got juked in the open field. He was missing a bunch of tackles. It was his first game back after his injury. And Deion, after the game, talked to the media with Shiloh like a couple feet away from him, and basically told the entire world how bad Shiloh had played. And, Deion's accused of playing daddy ball, but everywhere he's gone, he always makes sure the best guys play. It just so happens that his son Shedeur is the best quarterback, and his son Shiloh was one of their best safeties on the team. Well, the next week, Shiloh came back and had the best game he had all season. And he talked about it after the game about like he was grateful that his coach and his dad had held him accountable because the rest of the team was watching that as well. So I think there's this general misconception about the Sanders family that they're not out there actually playing real football. When if you look at the tape, which I watched the tape because I think that's where it all starts. If you look at the statistics and you look at the surrounding people that Shedeur had around him as one of the top quarterbacks in this draft, there's no question in your mind that he's one or two. Him and Cam Ward, you can interchange him however you want. It's based off your preference. Do you like timing or do you like a guy with a super strong arm? But to me, there's this misconception that they can't play without Deion. And I think the way that he structured their development, especially Shedeur, they can go on and play without him. He did what you would expect every parent or coach to do. He set up his kids and his players for success. So Shedeur having 6 offensive coordinators in 4 years and 4 different offenses, I think that shows that he can be coached by different people. He can adapt when the time comes. And he's been through the most adversity when it comes to playing at HBCU and then playing in the Big 12 for a quarterback in this draft class. And I love Cam Ward's story. I talked to both of them. I mentor both of them, but at the end of the day, I think you can't go wrong with either of those guys. But the Sanders family is a success story, and not just I said this on Twitter today. It's not just a Black fatherhood success story. It's a fatherhood success story. He has done everything the right way to help his kids be the most successful, and I'm happy for him.
You also, Greta and I share an alma mater, and you guys went and talked to Mike Norvell.
Yes.
So automatically, Rob, I've never met Greta. I've known you since you were in high school, but I already like her better than you just because of her alma mater. I'll tell you this: your interview with Mike Norvell is really good. I wonder, how much did they carry December 6th or 5th, whatever day that was last year, on with them far too long because the disappointment was so much, and then it kind of clouded them in their talent acquisition and everything in that offseason that caused this gigantic drop that we've never seen before?
Yeah, well, I got to say, first and foremost, my guy, Grete loves Florida State, but she'd like you more if you got her name right. Okay, her name is Grete, not Greta. Grete. But I have to say that I always try to get people to get it right, So, but I would say this with the Norvell interview. Let me get to that first. No, the conversation, not interview. The conversation. It was a tough one, man, because they were struggling, and a lot of times you see coaches come on shows and they're doing great, 6-0, playing, maybe going for, for ACC championship or college football playoff. Nah, man, they were 1-7, 1-8. It was like, do they want to do this conversation? And, to his credit, he came in there. He was upbeat. He was the same guy from the previous year when they were undefeated. And he was the guy that I knew when I was in meetings with him before we got into the games. And that, to me, showed his character. Mike Norvell is a high character individual, and he wants guys to come there that want to be a part of the solution. And that's what I really learned from that conversation. But to answer your question about did they carry what happened to them the previous year? Oh, 100%. I think they did. I don't think they will ever admit that. But as an innocent bystander looking from the outside in, it shows you just how much of football isn't just physical. It's mental. Now, I tried to sit down with Florida State and have that conversation directly after the season last year when they got snubbed from getting to the college football playoff. And they were, they didn't want to have it at that point. But I think if they had addressed it immediately right out the gate and then were able to just wash it and have that 24-hour to 48-hour rule, I think their season would have turned out better this past year. The other thing is you got to get the quarterback right. And DJU, yes, he got hurt, but even before he got hurt, he wasn't performing to the level that you would want out of your starting quarterback, especially when you pay him that much money. And that's just an unfortunate truth. You got to get the quarterback right in the NFL. You got to get the quarterback right at the college level. And I'm actually interested to see how they bounce back now after experiencing what was utterly a catastrophe of a season.
You think Baylor and Jake Spavital, Dave Aranda now, they thought DeQuan Finn might be the answer. They have, and he had, of course, a couple of things go wrong early, including an injury with Sawyer Robertson, Robert. He looks the part. He has the gunslinger mentality. He looks like he could have played in those offenses that you and Bryce Petty and Seth Russell used to throw all the time.
Yeah, man. You guys have heard me say this before. Seth was the best of us all, man. He was the youngest. He had an opportunity to play, I think, for 3 or 4 straight years as a starter. And to see him get hurt was truly heartbreaking. But when you talk about Sawyer, I said this on Twitter during the season. Sawyer came to our quarterback camp as a volunteer 3 years ago. And I got a chance to just sit there and talk with him for 30, 40 minutes during the camp and after the camp. And really what he's been going through is the mental battle of being that guy coming out of high school and then bouncing around a little bit while he was in college. And, he talked to me about his purpose and why he played the game. And it wasn't for the accolades and the superstar stats. It was for God. It was for God's kingdom. And we just talked about him maintaining that confidence so that when he did get his shot, he would make the most of it at Baylor. And I know talking to him last year with Jake Spavital coming in, that offense was exactly what he ran in high school. It was what he was comfortable with. Dick did an amazing job of getting him in rhythm early, allowing him to show off all of his skill set, his ability to make plays when it's not there, his ability to use his legs in design quarterback runs, I thought was a huge part of last year. And what it ended up doing, it gave him more confidence to let that dog hunt, as we always call it, grip it and rip it. You guys have heard all the phrases, but throwing the football as a quarterback is all about rhythm and confidence. And I felt like Sawyer built that to the point where I believe if he has an entire year the way he finished the last 7 or 8 games last year, he'll be a first-round pick at quarterback in the NFL draft.
Robert, NFL Combine ongoing. I was curious just kind of what this time of year maybe drums up some memories for you on occasion, just kind of what goes through your head and sort of, I don't know how often you look back, but I also wanted to know, you are an exceptionally fast dude. You're known for your speed, but we were talking a bit earlier. Isaiah Bond of Texas says that he's going to go break the 40-yard dash record that was set just last year by Xavier Worthy. My question is, we had John Ross with the 4.22 5-6 years ago. We had Xavier Worthy with 4.21. How much faster can guys go in the 40 at this point, man? Like, what are we talking about here? Is it even possible at this stage?
Yeah, I mean, it is possible. And listen, we had Christian Coleman, the track and field athlete, who ran like a 4.1. 4.11 or something like that. Track speed is different than football speed, but I think what these guys end up running into when they go to the combine is they don't understand how grueling of a process it is before you ever even get out there to run that 40. So they might come in thinking, yeah, I'm gonna run low 4.2, high 4.1s, and then they got the drug tests at 4 a.m. in the morning, and they're up till meetings till midnight with the coaches and all the organizations. And then they got to go bench press, and then they measure their arms and how big their hands are, how big their pinky toe is. And then they make them go do the vertical and the broad jump, and then they go run the 40. And I think that's why you see guys typically run faster at their pro days than they do at the combine, because there's so much that goes into that. It's not just about performing. But I do believe we'll see a guy go 4.1. I don't know if it'll be this year. Typically, the guys that say they're going to break the record end up not breaking the record, but that's neither here nor there. I hope Isaiah Bond goes out there and breaks it free and runs a 4.1, and we can all, go viral on Twitter talking about it.
What was the fastest actual time you had? Do you remember in the 40?
Yeah, I ran 4.32. So
4.32.
I ran 4.32 at the combine. But they average the times. So now I don't think I'm giving away any secrets, but
right.
They don't, it's not all laser. They're averaging the laser with all the other handheld times and stuff like that. So I did go 4.32 at the combine, but my official time, I believe, was 4.41, which is BS, but that's neither here nor there. All right. I actually ran 4.25 2 years ago at a rich run for St. Jude Hospital. It was out in California. Yeah. So I ran that 4.25. That's the fastest I've ever run in the 40. I was pretty proud of that. Not gonna lie.
Your pro day at Baylor, though, I don't know if anyone's ever had one like that, because the NFL Network was live, ESPN was live, Ron Jaworski was there along with others. What was that like? And obviously the then ownership, which is no longer the ownership, thank goodness, but that day, what was it like for you to command that type of crowd and attention?
I mean, it was special for the guys. At that point, the trade had already happened between the Rams and the Washington Redskins at the time. And my agent actually called me and said, I don't want you to do the pro day anymore. Like, you're going to Washington. It's a done deal. You don't need to do anything. But if you guys remember, we had Terrence Ganaway, we had Kendall Wright. We had a bunch of guys that I felt like deserved that spotlight. Super talented. We don't win the Heisman without these guys getting an opportunity to go out there and showcase their skills in front of all 32 teams. So I quickly told my agent, no, we're doing the pro day. And we went out and we put on a show. That's what it felt like to me. It wasn't like, oh man, I got to make sure my 3-step drop is perfect here. And I got to make sure this is we out here throwing in shirts and t-shirts. This is fun. We had the music bumping. Michael Jackson was Thriller timing it. And Kendall had a great day. Our other receivers had a great day. And I felt like for me, it was just my final thank you to my teammates at the time to say, listen, I know I don't need to do this, but this is what you deserve. So I'm going to be here and I'm going to make sure you guys are all decked out head to toe in the best gear. We had a blast, man. And I got to tell, the guys, every chance I get, just how much I appreciated them. So I wanted to do that for them.
All right, I'm going to ask you to pick your favorite kid here. Not your favorite actual kid. Not your favorite actual kid, but you got to get a first down. You got to get a first down.
Yeah.
Who's the ball going to?
Wow.
Ooh.
That's such a tough question. Of course, we got first-round pick, Kendall Wright. Got Terrence Williams, who was a third-round pick for the Cowboys. Yeah, Josh Gordon for a year. We had Lanier Sampson. We had Tevin Reese, who was a draft pick for the Bengals. I would say this: if I needed a first down, it was going to Terrence Williams, because I knew he was going to sit it down at 10 to 12 yards on the outside choice route instead of going vertical. But anytime it was big play time, it was Kendall Wright all day, every day. I still remember that catch he had against Kansas State, fingertip grab, diving into the end zone. I don't know how he caught it. When I threw it, I was like, man, that Kansas air kind of let this ball fly on me a little bit. And he went and just jumped and grabbed it on fourth down. But, of course, we all remember the touchdown pass to Terrence against Oklahoma that sealed it and really just took us to an entire new stratosphere. I knew if I needed a first down, Terrence was going to be where he was supposed to be every single time. So I'd probably pick Terrence.
Robert, speaking of Terrence Williams, Oklahoma, that dramatic play. Obviously, I get goosebumps thinking about it. J.J. Joe, who called the touchdown before it was even caught. J-Mo and Ricky Thompson in that moment. That moment itself, but your thoughts about a legacy and another great quarterback in Baylor history, and J.J. Joe, who he lost at such a young age.
Yeah, Smoak, there is no RG3 without J.J. Joe. And, it's crazy how life happens, because I was just tweeting back and forth with JJ, just a few months ago. And he's always been supportive through everything, through the highs and the lows at Baylor, through the highs and the lows in my NFL career. After my NFL career, he was always present. And after his passing, our former head trainer, Mike Sims, texted me about JJ and told me what happened. And, my response was, damn. You just never know when life is going to happen, or when you're not going to have an opportunity to hug on somebody or say thank you or give them their roses while they're still here and can still smell them. And that's how I felt about JJ. So when I heard that news, obviously I put out, a prayers up for him and his family, through this difficult time, to kind of allow the Baylor community to truly grieve all together. But then I went back and I listened to that play. And that throw to Terrence Williams, everybody on the sideline did not want me to throw that pass, okay? But I felt like JJ did. And you could hear it in his voice when he called it. You got John there talking about, he goes to the left, he throws it back. JJ's already saying, touchdown. And the excitement with which he said that in his voice, you knew he knew what it meant. And I think, maybe later today or in a couple of days, I'm going to post that clip, and hopefully the Baylor community can all join in and enjoy that moment once again, because I don't think anybody could have encapsulated it better than the way JJ did. He was all about Baylor, man. I think it was 21 years as the voice. Mm-hmm. It's going to be difficult to listen to whoever comes in next for the first couple games in the first couple years, because you just got so used to hearing JJ and his excitement for the team, whether we were doing great or not doing great. You knew he was going to be that constant thing for you. So, my thoughts and prayers go out to him, his family, and his loved ones. And I know he's looking down upon us right now from heaven, appreciating all the love that he's getting now that he's not here.
Robert Griffin III with us on 365 Sports. You are getting into the coaching profession with the 7-on-7, overtime 7-on-7. Tell us a little bit about how this started, what was it like, and then what does it mean? What does it actually mean?
Yeah, I saw the story. I did the interview, and the way they did the story was like I was taking a college job, like I'm putting everything off to the side. And I'm here to let everyone know we're still doing the podcast. Out of Pocket with RG3, me and my wife, we're going to keep doing the podcast. I'll still be, have opportunities to be in the legacy media. That news will drop at some point soon. But this was more of an opportunity to give back to the younger generation. So OT7, They have a great tournament that they do. A lot of former NFL stars have teams that they coach or that they support that are within that structure. And I wanted to be able to do that for the kids here in Houston and really just build a team that can be one of the best in Texas. So we rebranded a team that was like right on the cusp of getting an OT7, and they needed that little extra boost. So we rebranded the team, and the team is now RG3 Takeover. And for me, like I said, just coaching my daughter's flag football team, 7U flag football team in the fall, and then also this spring, just, reinforced to me just the importance of growth and development. And if I'm going to be there doing that for my kid, and we can create an environment where young athletes can grow and get the exposure that they deserve, I just felt like that was an incredible opportunity for me to do. And it was also sparked by the fact that Sacramento State reached out to me and offered me their head coaching job.
Whoa.
And I went through that whole process. They offered it to me before I went through the interview process, but I still went through the interview process because I wanted to experience that and see what it felt like to be interviewed to be a head coach at the collegiate level. And ultimately, it just wasn't the right timing for me and the right opportunity for me to take that job. And they got Brennan Marion, who's going to do a phenomenal job, who was the OC at UNLV last year. So I kept that to myself until this interview because I was not trying to shine a negative light on Brennan Marion and his excitement for getting that job. But it showed me a lot. And when the opportunity is right, and if it comes, then I'll be ready to jump into the coaching ranks. But for now, we can continue to have fun, coach OT7, do the media stuff that we're doing, and continue to build.
Well, we're seeing the trend of guys being able to get coaching jobs in college without having any kind of a long ladder or anything. And so that has to open the door for you too.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are trying to copy that Deion Sanders model, right? But the Deion model was different. It was 2020, 2019, 2020. You had COVID, and we had the George Floyd situation, and it was the HBCUs, and the HBCUs were getting a lot of support from the media, and that was just a very unique point in time. But what I think you're seeing is players understand the changing landscape of not just college football, but coaching in general. You just have to be able to command the room, set the curriculum, command the room, be the CEO. And I think former players can do that better than lifetime coaches, right? So you're seeing the Michael Vicks and the Deshaun Jacksons and the Eddie Georges. Eddie George just got an interview to be the Chicago Bears head coach. So I think that barrier that exists in the NFL, where if you're a former player, you got to go all the way to the bottom. And you got to do 5 years as an assistant to the assistant. A lot of players they don't want to have to go through that because they feel like their expertise as a player, and I think they're justified in believing that, has already given them 5 years experience of coaching. And if you played for 15 years, you already have 10 years experience of coaching because you're coaching all those young guys. Because on a football team, you're only as strong as your weakest link. So you're having to coach all those guys up to make sure they're in the right positions. And I think you're going to start seeing it change in the NFL where players can come straight off the field and get OC jobs, and they can get quarterback coaching jobs. And that's what happened to Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore was a quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. He retired. He was quarterback coach the next year. And I think more players want those opportunities. They're just not getting them. And now I think you're going to see that change.
The job of a head coach is a little bit different now. I mean, both college and the NFL, where if you're talking about a guy also who not only can be strategy-wise, but a CEO and lead and be the front of it. Why can't Eddie George be the coach of the Bears and hire 2 great coordinators? Like, why can't he be that guy? Like, if he knows what to do in the key moments and says, we're going for it on this 4th down, or, those things, why can't he be that guy? Like, that's the thing I think that the owners got, like, well, they have to have this on their resume. Well, like, they can't get it on their resume unless you let them. You're kind of in your own way.
So who's actually stood in the way of that being the possibility? It's the coaching lifers, okay? And that's what they don't want. A lot of players that I have communicated with, I'm 35 now, I've been retired for 4 years almost. A lot of the players that I talk to, they're like, man, I want to get into coaching, but God, they're not going to let me, or they're not going to allow me. They're not going to put me in position to be successful because they don't want me to take their job. And that's really what it comes down to. A lot of coaches that are stuck in the coaching lifer ranks, they weren't able to either get to the NFL, and play at a high level, or some of them didn't even play college football. So if they honestly believe, and players honestly believe, that if those coaches start letting former players in and let them in at high-ranking positions right as soon as they retire, it's going to eliminate their pipeline to get to where they want to go. So they're just gate guarding and protecting themselves. Well, that gate is completely thrown in the trash when it comes to college football now. And you're seeing it happen at the HBCU levels. I think it'll start to happen at the Power 4 levels, and that will eventually bleed its way into the NFL. Just like we've known for years, we follow high school football. Where does the best player on the team, the most athletic guy on the team, what position does he play? Plays quarterback.
Yep.
All right. Well, there was a gate there in college for a long time. That gate was gone. Now all the best athletes are playing quarterback. Well, in the NFL, that gate is also gone. I think it's 25 of the 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL were mobile guys. So it just has a trickle effect, and I think it will start trickling its way into the NFL, because being a successful offensive or defensive or special teams coach has no barometer on how successful you are as a head coach in the NFL. So
Jaden,
why not give those guys those opportunities?
have you spoken with Jaden Daniels?
Yes.
What was that like, and how much you could also share your experiences with a great rookie year with what he's done, and then also moving forward?
Yeah, listen, I mentor Jaden Daniels, but Jaden Daniels is his own man. And we talked, almost every single week during the season, texting here and there, just little tidbits, talking about his demeanor, talking about the expectation that he's setting there in Washington. And the one thing I haven't done with Jaden is talk to him about my experience in detail. Why? Everybody knows my experience, okay? I had conversations with former quarterbacks when I first got to Washington who had either been in Washington or had been in the NFL. And the issue becomes if they start to try to poison your mind from their own experience, right? They make you jaded, okay? If you meet somebody and it's your first time meeting them, you're going to formulate your own opinion about that person. But if someone's in your ear saying, oh, man, this person's a bad person, they're a bad guy, they don't like you, they don't like me, why? Because of this. You're now going to go into that meeting thinking, hey, he's a bad guy. So what I ended up doing was I tried to shut that out so that I could go be successful with my team and my coach. And I think that was the best method for me, although I did receive some of that information that they were giving me. So with Jaden, I just decided to do unto him what I would have wanted done unto me. Hey, here's your opportunity. Here's what you have to go out and do. And if you do it here, this city will love you forever. So I'm grateful to the DMV, to the Washington, D.C. area, that they still support me till this day, because I gave my knee and my career for that city. I gave my knee and my career for that team. Jaden doesn't have to do that. I'm so happy for him that he didn't just have a successful year, the greatest rookie year for a quarterback ever. He also came out of it healthy. He comes out of it with an organization that is aligned top to bottom. Owner, GM, head coach, OC, all of them wanted Jaden. All of them are on Jaden's bus, and they're pushing it forward, allowing him to continue to grow and have a growth environment around him. So I'm very happy for him. His situation is completely different than mine, but his success will be much longer because of the environment that he's in.
RG3, if you don't mind, Robert, if you don't mind, you got a call from the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame. You've won the ultimate college football award, the Heisman. What was that like from your days when you guys went to state championship games back-to-back at Copper's Cove, Jack Welch and the Bulldogs?
Yeah, man. I tell people all the time, there's no better football than high school football. You have an opportunity to grow up with the same kids, at least in my experience, from first grade all the way through 12th grade, growing from young adolescents to just a little bit older adolescents, right? And having that experience is something that I'll never forget. I want to be able to bring all of my former teammates to that Texas Sports Hall of Fame, because it's not about me. It's about my family. It's about the friends that I had when I was in Copper's Cove. It's about the teammates that I had in Copper's Cove. And those are the only 2 state championships we've ever been to in Copper's Cove history, with a quarterback who was mainly a basketball player and a track athlete. So it was just, to me, it was a great experience being a part of a military town, being a military kid, a military brat, as we call each other, to see my friends have parents and aunts and uncles and brothers and sisters go and serve their country and then be joyous when they come back to see the Copper's Cove Bulldogs out there dominating on the track, dominating in football, and having fun is something that I'll never forget. One of my former teammates, Jeff Neal, is actually in the UFC right now. He played defensive end for us at Copper's Cove, and now he's knocking guys out. They call him Hands of Steel in the UFC. So, there's a lot of great people who have come out of that town, and there's a lot of great people who are in that town, and they deserve the spotlight because being in the Hall of Fame for Texas sports, especially high school, it isn't about me. There's no chance that I'd be there if it wasn't for them.
I just saw your daughter walking through. I don't know if I've ever seen you happier than you are right now. Is everything? I mean, because everything you did, everything such at a high level, and then all of a sudden you got a little bit of the deal with broadcasting, and you haven't blinked, Robert. You haven't freaking blinked. You've just said, okay, let's go do this. That's incredible.
No, I appreciate that, Smoak, and I'm happy, man. It's working tirelessly every single day to maintain, or should I say, attack all of my plan A's. I tell people there is no plan B, but you can have multiple plan A's. And I want to be the best husband I can be. I want to be the best father I can be. I want to be the best broadcaster I can be. And when it comes to coaching, I'm going to be the best coach. If it comes to wearing a cowboy hat, I want to wear it the best. And that's just the way that I've lived life. It's what my parents taught me. And when you look at life, it's not always about what happens to you. It's about how you respond. And with what happened with ESPN, it was like, all right, this wasn't something that they said was due to performance. This wasn't something that was due to not delivering the results that they asked me to deliver. I delivered in every aspect, but for whatever reason, they decided to go in a different direction. The only thing I can do from that standpoint is continue to go out and be myself, continue to go out and have fun. And the fans have responded. So I'm very grateful and thankful for everyone who supported me over the years. If I never get another broadcasting job, I will be happy because I'm happy at my house and I know who I serve and I know what I do it for. And it's not for my own glory, it's for God's glory. But I think God's called me to do these things. And that's why we're seeing the success with the podcast and seeing the success on social media. People want me to get back into broadcasting. That's the message that I've received when it happened at ESPN and I was laid off. The response to that showed me that people want me to be in broadcasting. And now it's just about finding the right home where we can go and give the fans what they want. And I'm looking forward to that.
Hey, man, thank you, all of us. Craig, Paul, everybody here, we thank you for your time today. And Paul, who's his co-host?
Griffin.
Yeah.
There you go.
Listen.
Circle the wagons.
Yeah. Listen, I'll say fellow Florida State legend. She's way up there on the list than me. I'm legendary for things that people don't want to talk about, but still, fellow Florida State legend.
Yeah, you guys know how to party down there. That's what they say.
No kidding. Robert Griffin III. Robert, we appreciate it. Love you, man. Thanks for your time.
Love you
Thank you so much.
See you soon.
It is a great podcast, Out of Pocket podcast. I saw the one with Dustin Poirier and many of the others that he has done with Griffin. And